My name is Nick Wright, 68 years young, and I never thought a simple birthday tradition would tear my family apart. For 30 years, I bought my daughter Amanda lottery tickets for her birthday. Just a small gesture alongside the handmade gifts I could afford on my construction worker pension. That 35th birthday changed everything when one ticket hit the $10 million jackpot. Instead of joy, it brought out something dark in my sweet girl. She threw me out of her life completely. But in her excitement, she missed one crucial detail about that winning ticket. If you are watching this, please let me know where you are viewing from. Hit that like button and subscribe to join me as I share how a lottery ticket destroyed and then unexpectedly healed my relationship with my only daughter. I should probably start at the beginning to help you understand how deeply Amanda's rejection cut me. My wife Sarah and I had Amanda late in life. She was our miracle baby, after years of trying. When Amanda was just 7, Sarah was diagnosed with aggressive breast cancer. Within 8 months, my beautiful wife was gone, leaving me to raise our daughter alone. For 40 years, I worked construction, started as a basic laborer, and eventually became a site foreman. It was honest work that kept food on the table and a roof over our heads, but it took its toll on my body. These hands have more calluses than smooth spots. My back aches every morning and my knees crack like old floorboards when I stand up. But I never complained, because every dollar I earned went toward giving Amanda a better life than I had. Amanda and I were inseparable after Sarah died. I became both mom and dad overnight. I learned to braid hair, sew torn stuffed animals, and bake birthday cakes that looked more like abstract art than desserts. Those early years were hard, but we had each other. Every night I would sit on the edge of her bed and tell her stories about her mother keeping Sarah alive in our hearts. When Amanda was in high school, she blossomed. Smart as a whip, with her mother's golden hair and kind smile. She joined the debate team, played volleyball, and graduated top of her class. I still remember sitting in the audience at her graduation, tears streaming down my face, thinking Sarah would have been so proud. College was the first real strain on our relationship. I had saved every extra penny for her education, but it still wasn't enough for the prestigious university that accepted her. I took out a second mortgage on our modest home and picked up weekend work to make it happen. Amanda promised she would make it all worthwhile, and I never doubted her for a second. During her sophomore year, Amanda met Damon Phillips. From the first time she brought him home during spring break, something about him rubbed me the wrong way. He came from money, real money, the kind that has been in families for generations. He had perfect teeth designer clothes and a condescending smile that never quite reached his eyes when he looked at me or our home. After graduation, Amanda and Damon got married in a ceremony that cost more than my annual salary. His parents paid for most of it, making me feel useless as father of the bride. During his toast, Damon joked about rescuing Amanda from her humble beginnings. People laughed. Amanda laughed too, though she glanced my way with something like apology in her eyes. Over the 5 years they were married before the lottery incident, I watched my daughter change. Her calls became less frequent. Her visits back home dwindled to major holidays, then just Christmas. When they bought their first house in an exclusive neighborhood, I brought over a handmade bookshelf as a housewarming gift. Damon had it moved to the garage the same day. Amanda later told me it did not match their aesthetic. Despite the growing distance, I kept trying. Every Sunday I would call. Sometimes she would answer distracted and brief. Sometimes Damon would pick up and tell me she was busy. I sent cards for every occasion. I remembered birthdays, anniversaries, promotions. I tried to stay connected to the only family I had left. The lottery ticket tradition started with Sarah. She would buy one ticket every payday, joking that someday we would hit it big and travel the world. After she passed, I continued the tradition, buying tickets for Amanda on special occasions. It became our little inside joke. I would present the ticket with a flourish and say, "Just like your mom, always planning our escape." Amanda used to smile at that. In the months before her 35th birthday, my health took a downward turn. Nothing life-threatening, just the accumulated wear of decades of physical labor. The doctor suggested I consider moving somewhere without stairs, maybe closer to family, who could help if needed. I thought about broaching the subject with Amanda, but our last few interactions had been so strained I kept putting it off. So that was our life before the lottery. A father trying to hold on to his daughter. A daughter pulling away toward a world of wealth and status I could never provide. and a tradition of simple paper tickets carrying impossible dreams about to change everything. I spent weeks preparing for Amanda's 35th birthday. Despite my limited income, I saved up $200 for her gifts. I bought a silver photo frame and carefully restored an old photograph of Amanda as a little girl sitting on Sarah's lap. They had the same smile, bright and full of life. I made a wooden jewelry box, hand-carving delicate flowers along the edges, like the ones Sarah used to grow in our backyard. And of course, I bought 5 lottery tickets, one for each decade of Sarah's too short life, plus one for good luck. The morning of her birthday, I ironed my best shirt, the blue one Amanda had given me 3 Christmases ago. I polished my old dress shoes until I could almost see my reflection. The arthritis in my fingers made tying a tie difficult, but I persisted. This was for my little girl. Amanda and Damon lived in Oak Ridge Estates, a gated community with manicured lawns and houses that looked like they belonged in magazines. The security guard at the entrance always gave me the same suspicious once-over before reluctantly letting me through after checking his list. That day was no different. I arrived at 6 o'clock, the time specified on the elegant electronic invitation Damon had sent. Their house was a modern 2-story, with large windows and minimalist landscaping. As I walked up the curved driveway, I could see people moving inside, hear laughter and music spilling out. I straightened my tie one last time and rang the doorbell. A caterer in a crisp white uniform opened the door. The foyer was filled with flower arrangements taller than me. I clutched my modest gifts, suddenly feeling foolish. The living room was packed with guests in cocktail attire holding champagne flutes and small plates of food I could not identify. I recognized no one. Finally, I spotted Amanda across the room wearing a sleek black dress that probably cost more than my monthly pension. She was laughing with a group of women all equally polished and perfect. When she saw me, her smile faltered for just a second, before she excused herself and came over. Amanda greeted me with an air kiss near my cheek, careful not to smudge her makeup. She introduced me to nearby guests as her father, the way someone might introduce an eccentric uncle, with a slight apologetic tone. One woman asked what I did, and when I explained I was retired from construction, the conversation quickly shifted to someone's recent trip to Europe. Damon appeared with 2 glasses of champagne, handing one to Amanda and nodding at me with that same empty smile. "Happy birthday to my beautiful wife," he said loudly, then whispered something in her ear that made her giggle and blush. I stood awkwardly unsure where to put my hands or my gifts. Eventually, Amanda opened her presents in a side room with just close family present, which apparently meant Damon's parents, his sister, and me. She unwrapped designer handbags, jewelry, and spa certificates with enthusiastic appreciation. When she got to my gifts, her expression softened for a moment at the photograph. "This is sweet, Dad," she said before setting it aside. The handmade jewelry box received a polite thank you, though I noticed her fingers tracing the carved flowers briefly. Damon's mother made a comment about crafts being so quaint and personal. Finally, I presented the birthday card with the 5 lottery tickets tucked inside. "Just like your mom, always planning our escape," I said softly. For a second, I saw my real daughter, in her eyes a flash of the connection we once had. Then Damon interrupted with a joke about my retirement plan, and the moment was gone. Amanda tucked the tickets into her purse without looking at them and thanked me with the same polite distance she had shown all evening. The rest of the party passed in a blur of feeling out of place. I left earlier than planned, making an excuse about the drive home. Amanda hugged me goodbye, a real hug this time, and whispered, "Thank you for coming." It was the most genuine moment of the night. On the drive home, memories of previous birthdays played through my mind. Amanda at 10 blowing out candles on a lopsided cake I had made. Amanda at 16 squealing with delight over the used car I had saved 3 years to buy her. Amanda at 21 sitting with me on our porch swing talking about her dreams for the future. Somewhere along the way I had lost her, or maybe she had lost herself. I went to bed that night with a heavy heart, wondering if things would ever change between us. The next morning my phone rang at 7:32. I fumbled to answer it, still half asleep. It was Amanda, her voice higher and faster than I had heard in years. Dad, oh my God, Dad, we won the lottery tickets you gave me. We checked them this morning and one of them won $10 million. $10 million. I cannot believe this. You have to come over. We are celebrating, Dad. We are millionaires." In that moment, hearing the joy in her voice, I felt nothing but happiness for my daughter. I had no idea how drastically everything was about to change. I dressed in record time, my hands shaking with excitement. On the drive to Amanda's house, my mind raced with possibilities. Maybe this windfall would ease whatever strain Damon's family wealth had put on our relationship. Maybe Amanda would not feel the need to distance herself from her humble upbringing anymore. Maybe, just maybe, we could be close again. The same security guard who usually scrutinized me waved me through with a smile. News travels fast, I thought. As I pulled up to Amanda's house, I noticed several unfamiliar luxury cars in the driveway. Music was already blasting from inside at 9 in the morning. The front door was propped open, and I walked in to find the house transformed. Overnight, it seemed expensive. Champagne bottles had materialized. Florists were arranging elaborate displays. Caterers bustled about setting up for what looked like a major celebration. And in the center of it all were Amanda and Damon, both still in pajamas and robes, looking like they had not slept. "Dad," Amanda squealed when she saw me rushing over to throw her arms around me. "This is all because of you." She was practically vibrating with excitement, her eyes wild, her movements jerky and uncoordinated. Damon followed behind her, beaming in a way I had never seen before. "Nick, the man of the hour." Damon clapped me on the shoulder with unexpected warmth. "Those magical tickets of yours just changed our lives forever." Amanda pulled me into the living room where a small crowd had already gathered. Some faces I recognized from the birthday party, others were completely new to me. Everyone held champagne flutes despite the early hour. "We are waiting for the official confirmation, but we checked the numbers 10 times, Amanda explained, her words tumbling out. $10 million. Can you believe it? We are already making plans." Damon jumped in, gesturing expansively. "We are thinking of buying the Jacksons' house next door, knocking down the wall between properties to expand. Maybe a pool house, definitely a new pool, and travel Paris, Tokyo, Sydney." I smiled, caught up in their enthusiasm, but also feeling a slight unease I could not quite place. "I think we should wait for the official confirmation before making too many plans," I suggested gently. Amanda waved away my concern. "We know, Dad, but the numbers match perfectly. This is happening." She turned to the gathering crowd. "Dad always buys me lottery tickets for my birthday, every year since I was a kid. And now one finally hit." Someone handed me a glass of champagne and toasts were made. To Nick, to good luck, to new beginnings. The atmosphere was intoxicating, a swirl of joy and possibility. For a few hours, I let myself believe that this was the beginning of something wonderful for all of us. As the day progressed, more people arrived. Friends, neighbors, colleagues, and several people Amanda and Damon introduced as new friends, though I suspected they had only learned about the win that morning. The celebration grew louder and more extravagant. Someone ordered sushi delivered. A jewelry salesman arrived with samples of watches and necklaces for immediate purchase. I watched as Amanda tried on a diamond necklace worth more than my house. I saw Damon writing down the specifications for a custom sports car. I observed new acquaintances suggesting investments, travel destinations, exclusive clubs to join. Through it all, the winning ticket sat on the coffee table, occasionally picked up and admired, but never properly inspected. When I managed to get Amanda alone for a moment in the kitchen, I tried again to offer some practical advice. "Sweetheart, before you start spending, you should really verify everything properly. Make sure you sign the ticket, keep it safe, talk to a financial advisor." She gave me a distracted smile. "I know, Dad. Damon is handling all that. His family has wealth managers and stuff." She patted my hand. "Do not worry so much. This is a good thing." Before I could respond, Damon entered the kitchen. "There is my lucky birthday girl." He wrapped an arm around Amanda's waist, barely acknowledging my presence. "Some guy from the yacht club is here. Says he has the perfect boat for us to look at. 40-foot minimum, right?" They walked away, arm in arm already, discussing whether they wanted the boat to have 3 or 4 bedrooms, leaving me standing alone in the kitchen. I looked around at the half-empty champagne bottles, the discarded packaging from hasty purchases, the growing crowd of people who had suddenly discovered their deep friendship with my daughter. Something felt wrong. Not just the extravagance or the sudden plans, but something fundamental had shifted in Amanda. The daughter I raised had been practical, thoughtful. The woman tossing around 5- and 6-figure purchase plans with casual abandon was someone I did not recognize. I decided to stay to keep an eye on things, to be there when reality eventually set in. I did not know then how painful that reality would turn out to be, or that it would arrive much sooner than I expected. By late afternoon, the impromptu celebration had evolved into something resembling a small festival. The backyard was now filled with delivery people, bringing in rented furniture, a portable bar, and even a small stage where someone was setting up DJ equipment. People I had never seen before wandered freely through the house, drinks in hand, as if they had known Amanda and Damon for years. I found myself sitting alone on a patio chair, nursing the same glass of water I had switched to hours ago. A catering staff member asked if I needed anything, clearly assuming I was someone's elderly relative who had been brought along and then forgotten. Around 5 o'clock, Damon called for everyone's attention. He and Amanda stood on the newly delivered small stage, champagne bottles in hand. "Friends, family, new friends," Damon announced with a wink. "We want to thank you all for celebrating with us today. The official lottery office opens tomorrow morning, and we will be there first thing to claim our fortune." Cheers erupted. Amanda beamed beside him, flushed with excitement and alcohol. I noticed her eyes had a glazed quality that concerned me. Damon continued, "And once that check clears, we have some major announcements to make." He pulled Amanda close. "Tell them, babe." Amanda giggled and took the makeshift microphone. "We are buying the Jacksons' house next door, and we are taking everyone here on a friendship cruise to the Mediterranean this summer." More cheers. Someone shouted about beachfront property. Another voice mentioned private jets. The enthusiasm was infectious, and Amanda and Damon fed off it, making increasingly extravagant promises. When they stepped down, I made my way over to them, determined to have a serious conversation. "Amanda, Damon, could I talk to you for a minute in private?" Damon rolled his eyes but nodded, leading us to his home office and closing the door. The sudden quiet was almost shocking after hours of noise. "Look," I started carefully, "I am so happy for you both, truly. But I am concerned about some of these promises you are making. 10 million is a lot of money, but it goes quickly, especially after taxes." Amanda frowned. "Dad, do not start with the lectures. We know what we are doing." I took a deep breath. "I just think you should consult with a financial advisor before committing to so many large purchases. Maybe set aside a good portion for the future, for any children you might have for retirement." Damon laughed. "Nick, I appreciate the concern, but this is our windfall. We get to decide how to spend it." I nodded. "Of course. I just want to make sure you are protected. You have not even claimed the ticket yet, and there are already people out there who seem to expect gifts and trips." Amanda's expression hardened slightly. "These are our friends, Dad. Some of them maybe I conceded, but others just showed up today when they heard about the money." Something flickered in Damon's eyes, a coldness I had glimpsed before, but never so openly. "I see what this is about," he said slowly. "You are worried about what you are going to get out of this." I blinked in surprise. "What? No, that is not it at all." Amanda crossed her arms. "Dad, we are going to be generous with the money, but we need to set boundaries. You cannot expect us to just hand over a big chunk to you." The accusation stunned me. "I have never asked for anything," I said quietly. "This is not about me wanting your money." Damon stepped closer. "Come on, Nick. Everyone wants a piece of the pie. It is natural. But this win is Amanda's. She is the one who got the ticket. For her birthday," I reminded him, "as a gift. Because it was a tradition her mother and I started." Amanda's eyes narrowed. "So you think you deserve some of it? Is that why you kept buying me tickets all these years, as some kind of investment?" The conversation was spiraling out of control. I felt dizzy with how quickly things had turned. "No, I would never think that way. I'm just trying to give you sensible advice." Damon scoffed. "We do not need financial advice from someone who worked construction his whole life and still has a mortgage on a 1,000-square-foot house." That was a low blow, but I tried to stay calm. "The money is yours. I do not want any of it. I just want you to be careful." Amanda's face had transformed completely now, showing an expression I had never seen directed at me before. Contempt. "If you do not want our money, then why are you still here? Why are you trying to control what we do with it?" "I am not trying to control anything," I protested. "I just care about you, about your future." She let out a harsh laugh. My future is just fine. Better than fine. We are set for life now. Just be careful, I pleaded. There are stories about lottery winners who lose everything because they spend too quickly or trust the wrong people. Damon stepped between us. I think we have heard enough financial wisdom for one day. The party is back that way, he said, gesturing toward the door. I stood my ground. Amanda, honey, please just promise me you will talk to a professional before making any big decisions. Something snapped in her then, her face contorted with anger. You will not get a penny of my money. Not one. She shouted loud enough that her voice probably carried beyond the office. Stop trying to guilt me into giving you a cut. I was speechless, wounded beyond words. For several seconds I could not even respond. I think you should leave, Damon said coldly. You are upsetting my wife on what should be the happiest day of her life. I looked at Amanda, waiting for her to contradict him, to remember who I was, who we had been to each other. Instead, she nodded in agreement. I think you should go, Dad. My voice was barely a whisper. You really think I came here for money? She did not answer directly. Just go. We will call you after everything is sorted out. I turned to leave, legs feeling unsteady beneath me. As I opened the office door, I found several party guests standing nearby, obviously having overheard the confrontation. They quickly pretended to be engaged in conversation, but their curious glances followed me as I walked through the house toward the front door. Halfway there, Damon caught up with me. He had his phone out and was speaking to someone. Yes, we need security at the house. My father-in-law is causing a scene. He is trying to pressure us about the lottery winnings. Yes, right away. I stopped in shock. You are calling security on me. He smiled thinly. Just a precaution. We have valuable things in the house. Within minutes, a uniformed security guard from the neighborhood patrol arrived. Damon explained that I was being disruptive and needed to be escorted off the property. The guard, a young man who could not meet my eyes, asked me to come with him. I walked out of my daughter's house, past people who whispered behind their hands, past the caterers and delivery people who averted their gaze, past the security guard, who kept a professional distance but treated me like a potential criminal. As I reached my car, I heard Amanda's voice calling from the doorway. Dad. For a moment, hope flared in my chest. I turned, thinking she had come to her senses, ready to forgive her everything. Instead, she stood with Damon's arm around her shoulders, her expression cold. Do not call us. We will contact you when we are ready. I got into my car and drove away without looking back. But as I turned out of the neighborhood, one thought kept repeating in my mind. I had registered that lottery ticket in my name, not hers. It was a detail I had forgotten, until that moment of formality I had always followed, when buying tickets as gifts, putting my name and contact information on the back. Amanda had never even looked at the ticket closely. She had no idea. The drive back to my small apartment was a blur. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white, but I barely noticed the road ahead. All I could see was Amanda's face contorted with anger, hear her voice shouting that I would not get a penny of her money. 40 years of love and sacrifice dismissed in an instant, over money we did not even have yet. My apartment felt emptier than usual when I returned. It was a modest one-bedroom on the second floor of an older building, nothing fancy, but it had been home since I downsized after retirement. Photos of Amanda through the years covered the walls. Her gap-toothed kindergarten smile, her high school graduation, her wedding day where she had still looked at me with love when I walked her down the aisle. I sank into my worn recliner, the events of the day, replaying endlessly in my mind. The initial joy, the growing extravagance, the horrible accusation, the humiliating ejection. Then, cutting through my hurt, a clear thought emerged. The ticket was registered in my name. When I bought lottery tickets, I always filled out the information on the back with my name, address, and phone number. It was a habit Sarah had insisted on years ago. Never leave a ticket blank, she would say. Always identify it as yours. I had done the same with Amanda's birthday tickets without even thinking about it. All 5 of them had Nicholas Wright written on the back, along with my contact information. Legally, the ticket was mine. The realization did not bring immediate relief or vindication. Instead, it presented me with an agonizing dilemma. The money was rightfully mine, but I had given the tickets to Amanda as a gift. I had never intended to keep any potential winnings. But after today, after the way she and Damon had treated me, I tried calling Amanda's cell phone, thinking I should at least tell her about the name on the ticket. The call went straight to voicemail. I tried again an hour later with the same result. By evening, I discovered she had blocked my number entirely. That night, I barely slept. I kept seeing Amanda as a little girl holding my hand as we walked to the park, looking up at me like I was her hero. When did that little girl become the woman who could treat her father like a criminal? Was it my fault somehow? Had I failed her as a parent? The next morning, I drove to the state lottery office. I needed to understand the exact legal situation before making any decisions. The office was located in a government building downtown with tight security and a busy waiting area. I took a number and sat watching other hopeful winners come and go. When my turn came, I approached the counter and explained my situation to the lottery official, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes. "Sir, if your name and information are on the ticket, then you are the legal owner," she confirmed after examining the photocopy I had brought. "The person who possesses the ticket will need to present ID matching the information on the back to claim the prize." "But I gave it to my daughter as a gift," I explained. "She thinks it is hers." The woman gave me a sympathetic look. "We see family disputes over tickets sometimes. If you want to transfer ownership to your daughter, you can do that after claiming the prize. But legally as it stands, you are the rightful winner." I thanked her and left no closer to a decision. On the drive home, I passed a newsstand with the local paper displaying the headline, "Local couple to claim $10 million jackpot." Below was a photo of Amanda and Damon smiling broadly outside their home, champagne glasses raised in celebration. Back in my apartment, I turned on the television to find a local news segment about the win. There was Amanda looking radiant despite what must have been a significant hangover, telling the reporter about their plans. "We are so blessed," she said, her voice steady and practiced. "We plan to travel, renovate our home, and of course give back to the community." Damon stood beside her, one arm draped possessively around her shoulders. "We are still in shock," he added with a camera-ready smile. "It has not fully sunk in yet that we are millionaires." I watched the entire interview, searching for any mention of me, the father who had bought the ticket. There was none. According to their narrative, the ticket had simply materialized in their lives, a stroke of cosmic good fortune. After the interview, the news anchor mentioned that the winners had not yet officially claimed the prize at the lottery office. "They have until 180 days after the drawing to come forward," he explained. "But sources say they plan to claim the winnings tomorrow." I switched off the television and sat in silence. What Amanda and Damon did not know was that they would be unable to claim anything. When they presented the ticket with my name on it, they would be turned away unless they had documentation showing I had transferred ownership to them. The next morning, I called an old friend, Martin Lewis, who happened to be an attorney. We had worked construction jobs together in our 20s before he went back to school for his law degree. We met at a diner near his office where I explained the entire situation. "Nick, legally, this is clear-cut," Martin said after listening carefully. "The ticket is yours, but I understand your dilemma. This is your daughter." "What would you do?" I asked him. He sighed, stirring his coffee thoughtfully. "I cannot tell you that, but I can tell you that money changes people rarely for the better. Your daughter and her husband have already shown you who they are when they think they have money. The question is whether you want to reward that behavior." "But she is still my daughter," I said softly. "My only family." Martin nodded. "Perhaps she needs a lesson more than she needs millions of dollars. Sometimes the kindest thing a parent can do is allow their child to experience consequences." We discussed options for nearly 2 hours. I could claim the ticket myself. I could split the winnings with Amanda. I could give her all of it despite how she had treated me. Each choice would lead to a different future for both of us. In the end, I made my decision. I would wait 1 week. I would try one more time to speak with Amanda, to explain about the ticket and give her a chance to make amends. If she refused to see me or continued to treat me with contempt, I would claim the ticket myself. The next day, I drove to Amanda's house hoping for a chance at reconciliation. The security guard at the gate refused to let me in, stating that I had been placed on a restricted list. When I asked him to call the house and tell Amanda I needed to speak with her about the lottery ticket, he just shook his head. Residents have instructed me not to accept any messages from you, sir. Please leave before I have to call the police. I left heart heavier than before. My daughter had not only cut me out of her life, she had labeled me a threat to be kept away at all costs, all because she thought I wanted her money that was legally mine all along. For the next 6 days, I waited and hoped. I sent an email that went unanswered. I mailed a letter explaining about the ticket and asking for a conversation. Nothing. Meanwhile, according to local news reports, Amanda and Damon had already begun spending. They had put deposits down on a vacation home, ordered custom vehicles, and hosted more lavish parties. They had given interviews about their philanthropy plans. They had even hired an interior designer to begin work on their home renovation, all based on money they could not claim. As the week came to an end, I made my final decision. It was time to reveal the truth. On the morning of the 7th day, I drove to the lottery headquarters. I had called ahead and spoken with the director, explaining the unusual situation. She had agreed to meet with me and suggested bringing documentation proving my identity and connection to Amanda. I wore my best suit, the one I had worn to Amanda's wedding. I brought my birth certificate, driver's license, family photos, and the carbon copy of the lottery registration form I had filled out when purchasing the tickets. I arrived early and waited nervously in the reception area, rehearsing what I would say when the moment came. At 9:30, I heard a commotion at the entrance. Amanda and Damon had arrived, dressed impeccably with what appeared to be a small entourage. They did not see me sitting in the corner as they approached the reception desk with confident smiles. "I am Amanda Phillips," she announced proudly. "We are here to claim our $10 million prize." The receptionist, who had been briefed on the situation, maintained a professional demeanor. "Of course, Mrs. Phillips. Could I see the winning ticket and your identification, please?" Amanda opened her designer purse and carefully removed the ticket, which she had placed in a protective sleeve. She handed it over along with her driver's license, practically bouncing with excitement. The receptionist examined both items, then made a phone call. "The director will be with you shortly," she said. "Please have a seat." Amanda and Damon sat down across the room from me, still not noticing my presence. They whispered to each other, occasionally laughing or squeezing hands. Their friends, or whatever they were, stood nearby, equally oblivious to the storm about to break. After a few minutes, the lottery director, a professional-looking woman in her 50s, emerged from her office. "Mr. and Mrs. Phillips, would you come with me, please?" They stood eagerly, but the director added, "Just the two of you, please. Your friends can wait here." Damon and Amanda followed her, disappearing into an office. I waited, heart pounding. About 10 minutes later, the director reappeared and approached me. "Mr. Wright, they are ready for you now." I stood on shaky legs and followed her down the hallway. When she opened the door to the conference room, I saw Amanda and Damon sitting at a table, their expressions confused and increasingly concerned. A lottery official sat with them, along with someone who appeared to be the legal counsel for the Lottery Commission. Amanda looked up as I entered, her eyes widening in shock. "Dad, what are you doing here?" I took a seat across from them, nodding to the officials. The director spoke first. "As I was explaining to Mr. and Mrs. Phillips, there is an issue with the lottery ticket they have presented. The name and contact information on the back of the ticket is for Nicholas Wright, not Amanda Phillips." Amanda's face paled. She grabbed the ticket, which was now in a clear evidence sleeve on the table, and turned it over. There, in my familiar handwriting, was my name, address, and phone number. But this is my ticket," she stammered. "My dad gave it to me for my birthday." The legal counsel spoke gently but firmly. "Under state law, the person whose name is on the ticket is the legal claimant, regardless of who purchased it or who possesses it. Unless you have documentation showing Mr. Wright transferred ownership to you, he is the legal winner of the $10 million prize." Damon's face had turned an alarming shade of red. "This is ridiculous. He gave her the ticket as a gift. Everyone knows that." The director nodded. "Gift-giving is common with lottery tickets. However, unless the recipient's name is written on the ticket or the original buyer legally transfers ownership, the named individual remains the rightful claimant." Amanda stared at me, realization dawning in her eyes. "You knew," she whispered. "You knew this whole time, and you did not tell me." "I tried to call you," I said quietly. "You blocked my number. I came to your house. Security turned me away. I sent an email and a letter explaining everything. So what now? She demanded, voice rising. You are going to take the money for yourself, after I have already told everyone I won, after we have already started spending. The room fell silent. All eyes turned to me. This was the moment of truth, the decision I had agonized over for a week. Amanda, I said, slowly, I gave you those tickets as a birthday gift, just like I have every year since you were a child. I never expected one to actually win, and I certainly never intended to keep the money if it did. Damon started to speak, but Amanda silenced him with a gesture, her eyes locked on mine. When you thought the money was yours, you threw me out of your house, I continued. You accused me of only caring about getting a share of your winnings. You called security on me. You blocked my calls and refused to speak to me for a week. Amanda's lower lip trembled. Her eyes filled with tears. Behind the makeup and expensive clothing, I could finally see a glimpse of my daughter again. I waited a week before coming here, I explained. I wanted to give you time to think, to maybe remember who we were to each other before the money came between us. I wanted you to reach out to me, not because of what I could give you, but because I am your father and I love you. A tear slipped down Amanda's cheek. She quickly wiped it away. So, you are punishing me, she said, but her voice had lost its edge. I shook my head. I am trying to help you see what is happening. The money has not even been claimed yet, and look what it has already done to us, to you. The lottery officials exchanged uncomfortable glances, clearly unused to being present for such personal confrontations. The director cleared her throat. Perhaps we should give you some privacy to discuss this family matter, she suggested. I nodded gratefully. When they had left the room, closing the door behind them, I turned back to Amanda and Damon. The ticket is legally mine, I said, but what I do with the money is my choice. Damon leaned forward eagerly. What are you proposing? Amanda shot him a look that for the first time contained a hint of criticism. Dad, she began, then stopped, seeming unsure how to continue. I reached across the table and took her hand. She did not pull away. The week after your birthday, I said softly, was the most painful of my life since losing your mother. Not because of the money, but because my only child, the person I love most in this world, looked at me with contempt and threw me out of her life. Amanda's face crumpled. She covered her mouth with her free hand, tears now flowing freely. Dad, I am so sorry, she whispered. I do not know what happened to me. It was like the money made me crazy, made me into someone I do not recognize. Damon shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Look, Nick, we all said things we did not mean. Heat of the moment, you know, big news like that, it affects people. I ignored him, keeping my focus on Amanda. When your mother died, I promised her I would always take care of you. Not just financially, but as a person. I promised I would raise you to be kind and honest, and to value the right things in life. Amanda squeezed my hand, her makeup now streaked with tears. I think I failed somewhere along the way, I continued. And maybe this lottery ticket is a chance to try again, to help you become the person your mother and I always hoped you would be. What does that mean? Damon interjected. Are you giving us the money or not? Amanda turned to him sharply. Damon, stop it. Just stop. The authority in her voice surprised all of us, including her. Damon blinked, then fell silent. She turned back to me. Dad, I behaved terribly. I was greedy and cruel and ungrateful. I do not deserve anything from you, let alone millions of dollars. I smiled sadly. It is not about deserving, Amanda. It is about what will truly make you happy, make your life better. And I am not convinced that handing you $10 million right now would do that. She nodded slowly. I think you might be right. In that moment, seeing her humbled and self-aware, I knew what I needed to do. I stood up and walked to the door, opening it to call the lottery officials back in. As they returned to their seats, I made my announcement. I am going to claim the winning ticket as the legal owner, but I have some specific requests about how the money will be handled. In the days following the confrontation at the lottery office, I worked with financial advisors and attorneys to set up the framework for managing the winnings. After taxes, the lump sum payment came to approximately $6.4 million. A life-changing amount, but far less than the $10 million headline figure Amanda and Damon had been fantasizing about. I established 3 separate trust funds. The first was a living expenses trust for myself, modest enough to improve my quality of life without fundamentally changing who I was. I moved into a single-story home, with no stairs to trouble my aging knees, set aside money for medical expenses, and invested the rest conservatively. The second trust was for Amanda, but with specific conditions. She would receive a reasonable monthly allowance with larger amounts available for legitimate expenses like education, medical needs, or starting a business. But she would not have direct access to the principal for 10 years. Most importantly, Damon would have no legal claim to any of the money. If they divorced, the trust would remain solely hers. The third trust was a charitable foundation in Sarah's name dedicated to supporting single parents and their children. I wanted something positive to come from this experience, something that would honor the woman who had started our lottery ticket tradition all those years ago. When I explained the arrangement to Amanda, she nodded thoughtfully. "It is more than fair, Dad. More than I deserve after how I treated you." Damon, predictably, was less accepting. "This is ridiculous," he had fumed. "It is like being on an allowance. We are adults." Amanda had stood her ground. "This is not negotiable, Damon. My father is being incredibly generous considering everything." Their marriage did not survive the next 6 months. Without the fantasy of unlimited wealth, the cracks that had always been present grew rapidly. The final break came when Amanda discovered Damon had secretly applied for several credit cards in her name, counting on her future inheritance to pay off the debt. She called me in tears the day she asked him to move out. "I am so ashamed, Dad. I chose him over you. I let him change me into someone I hate." I drove over immediately and held her while she cried the way I had when she was small and skinned her knee or lost a friend. "We are human, sweetheart," I told her. "We all make mistakes. The important thing is learning from them." That night, sitting in her kitchen with takeout containers between us, we really talked for the first time in years. She told me about feeling inadequate around Damon's wealthy family, about gradually losing herself in her attempts to fit into their world. I told her about my fears of becoming irrelevant in her life, my worries about growing old alone. "I miss Mom," she said suddenly. "Looking so much like Sarah, it made my heart ache. I wish she could have told me I was being an idiot." I laughed. "She would have too. Your mother never minced words." "She would be so disappointed in me," Amanda said softly. I shook my head. "Number. She would be proud of you right now. It takes courage to admit when you have been wrong. It takes strength to start over." Over the following months, Amanda began rebuilding her life. She went back to school to finish the master's degree she had abandoned when she married Damon. She volunteered at the foundation we had established, eventually taking on a leadership role. She sold the big house and moved into a comfortable but modest condo, one she could afford on her own. As for me, I adjusted to my new circumstances with care. I remained in my new single-story home, joined a senior center, where I taught woodworking classes, and took the occasional trip I had always dreamed of. The money made my life easier, but did not fundamentally change who I was or what I valued. The most significant change was in my relationship with Amanda. We had dinner together every Sunday, a tradition we had abandoned years ago. She called me regularly just to chat. She asked my advice about things not because she needed my financial support anymore, but because she valued my perspective. One Sunday evening, about a year after the lottery incident, Amanda brought a photo album to dinner. It was filled with pictures of her childhood, Sarah, and our life together as a family. "I forgot who we were," she said, turning the pages slowly. "I forgot what you taught me about what really matters." I squeezed her hand. We both lost our way for a while, but we found our path back to each other. She looked up at me, eyes clear and present in a way they had not been in years. "I never thanked you properly for what you did with the money, for not just handing it all over when I was at my worst. You could have punished me, but instead you found a way to protect me even from myself." I thought about that night often. The truth was, I had been tempted to claim all the money for myself to make Amanda feel the pain she had caused me. But in the end, love had proven stronger than hurt, stronger even than justice. The lottery ticket that nearly tore us apart ultimately healed wounds I had not even known were there. It stripped away pretense and forced us to see each other and ourselves clearly. Money can reveal character, but it cannot create it. Amanda had always been the daughter, I raised the girl with Sarah's compassionate heart. She had just lost sight of herself for a while. Now, as I look back on that strange chapter in our lives, I am oddly grateful for that winning ticket and all the pain it initially caused. Without it, Amanda might have continued drifting away from her true self, from me, from the values that matter most. Sometimes the most valuable gifts come wrapped in the most difficult packages. So what would you have done in my situation? Would you have claimed the entire amount for yourself after such betrayal, given it all to Amanda despite her behavior, or found a middle path as I did? Life rarely gives us perfect choices, only the opportunity to make decisions that reflect who we truly are and what we truly value. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story of family forgiveness and finding what really matters, please like, subscribe, and share with someone you love. Remember that no amount of money can buy what truly makes life rich: genuine connection with the people we love. Thank you for listening, and I wish you all the wealth that matters most.